Welcome, everybody. As you can see, this is a very special transmission. We are on site at the Pacific Island Ethnic Art Museum. And this is actually because throughout the duration of this month, Sam, our featured artist, and I became fully vaccinated. And so this is a really big achievement and proud moment for us to be transmitting in person with our ancestors. And we just wanted to say that Esil is going to drop in the chat a portal where you can find a lot of really great information on where you can also get vaccinated. Of course, you can use your health department, but they're just really wonderful resources and for everyone out there. So we wish you well on that journey and all the best health for everybody. Thank you so much. So welcome back. Our transmission home base is in Long Beach, and we acknowledge the Tongva people as the stewards of this land. We invite you to use the chat to tell us where you're dialing in from and to acknowledge the stewards of the land for which you now live. Who do you bring with you today? Who are your Sina? Who are your elders? And where are you dialing in from? As is our mission, Pacifica Transmission is our way of enhancing cultural competency and showcasing the vibrant talents and histories of the Indigenous artists in our community. Each artist is invited to the Pacific Island Ethnic Art Museum to be paired with ancestors or pieces from the museum's archive. This is an incredible gift to us Pacific Islanders living away from home because Pine is the only museum in the contiguous United States with a mission to amplify the collective wisdom of the people of the Pacific Islands of Oceania. It's also a collection by our community. Many of the sacred objects from families have been donated or stored at PIM through the years. So go ahead and find PIM on Instagram at PIM_arts. Of course, this couldn't have happened without the generous support of the Robert Gumbiner Foundation and the Roomba Foundation of Long Beach. And so we just like everybody to know that in our chat today, we have our wonderful Sina and steward of PIM, Auntie Fran Lujan, the director. She is with us today. You might hear her chime in, but she is definitely present with us. And Esil Warsala, our production assistant. Okay, so I'd like to introduce you to our artist, Samantha Tagaloa. Samantha is a Samoan-Italian artist based out of Long Beach. Her practice consists of process-based investigations through a combination of drawing, painting, sculpture, and performance. Samantha's work is not about a final product, rather the process that helps her to understand the human condition. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Auntie Fran and Esil, and thank you to the ancestors and to the GAW right here. I feel very honored to be in the space with everybody, and I'm just excited for my journey because it's just begun. So here we are.
Yes, here we are.
And just a little bit of background, the GAW is indigenous currency that was used in Yap Islands. And I have the honor of studying and working alongside the GAW, and I'm excited to share my experiences with everybody.
And so, Sam, you have a slideshow?
I have a slideshow.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And a little bit more background. The GAW is made up of 782 spondylus shells, and free divers would dive into the deep to collect these intentionally. And they are each hand carved and then strung together on some rope. And so in this case, I am the free diver.
And Sina too. So coconut fibers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That's okay.
Do the play.
This is my very first day meeting the Ga. I was a little intimidated at first. She was in a glass case, and as you do with all the ancestors here, you ask for permission. You know, can I take you outside? Can I talk to you? Can I touch you? And the Ga, before I even finished asking permission, was like, out. I need to go outside right now. And so I took her out into the sun. And I keep saying she developed a feminine voice in my head. And so I started working with watercolors, knowing that the Ga is from the ocean. Watercolor seemed like the best medium. And when I brought her out into the sun, she showed me her colors. She showed me movement of the ocean, the currents. And I recorded that. These were our conversations that we had together. And at first, she didn't say a whole lot to me. I thought maybe she would open up and have a lot of stories, but I feel like she was a very stubborn auntie in a way, just kind of like, all right, you have a lot to learn. But seeing all these shells, I got to touch every single one of them each time I came to visit, and seeing the pores and the different colors, I got to record those. And I imagined these shells deep underwater and how much more vibrant they were underwater as well. And so I think that's why she wanted me to take her out into the sun, so I could see those colors more clearly.
Absolutely. It's stunning. We were actually just also, JP was here as well, and we were also marveling at all her colors. It's like the closer you look, the more expansive the color palette she has.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we like to think of them as like a language, like she has this language of color.
Yeah. And color usually speaks to me first. Mm. And I think she knew that. And again, just being able to work alongside the Ga in the garden was very special. I just got to put my head down and work. And again, even though these were watercolor sketches that I had created, I refer to sketches as messages from the past and messages about the future. And I think the Ga really wanted to remind me of that. Mm-hmm. Because a sketch is very intuitive, and sometimes a sketch can just turn into something much larger later in my practice. And I'll be like, where have I seen this pattern or this shape or this color before? And then I flip back into my sketchbook, and there it was for me this whole time.
It's also connected directly to your body too.
Right.
And I feel like the way that the Ga, everything that's, there's so many bodies and hands that have kind of connected to the Ga as well.
Mm-hmm. And somehow, some way, that whale tooth always found its way to point directly at me. When I would enter the space, it would be pointing at me, calling me out. It's like, hey, I'm here. We're here together. And this was my second time meeting the Ga, and I got to bring her to a workstation where there was some more light. And again, she just watched me while I recorded her colors. And in this next image with the Fale in the back, the Fale being a home to both the Ga and myself, and just feeling very comfortable in this space with the Ga and the rest of the ancestors. There's a special presence here that I can't really explain. It's just felt. It's quiet, despite the fact that Payam is on a busy cross street. Mm-hmm. And this next image, probably one of my favorites, because it shows so much of the movement within the Ga and the ocean. And I think being able to, I'm very intuitive with my mark making, and I always feel like drawing and painting is an extension of the body, because it very much is. Mm-hmm. And I think when people see these images, you can feel that. You can feel an organism or something living, something moving. And this was my message from the Ga. She told me to visit the ocean, and I submerged myself completely into the ocean. And when I had a moment to myself, I recorded these thoughts onto a paper that I just found, where the colors are more vibrant. It's a message from the past, telling me of my present, my future, letting me know that this is all okay, all for you. Know where you are from. Remember the God is with you forever. Her salt is in your tears. Women belong to the ocean, the abyss. She's engulfed. She is singing. Sing with her. And again, a message from the past or from the future, I'm not really sure. I read this over and over, and it's just amazing that I immediately just started writing it down, you know, and I'm curious to find out what this message might mean to me in 5 years, 10 years. So yeah,
We are too.
Yeah, this is engraved in my soul. In a video that I'll be showing shortly, I sort of layered images from when I was working with the Gamma space, as well as when I visited the ocean. And I talk a lot about the Va in my previous works. And the Va is this liminal space, the space between 2 points in time, the space between history. And I see these spondylus shells that are hand carved, you know, this carving of history, carving of your own journey, and then compressed like time and space is. And so visually this image, you know, it could potentially be a painting. You know, maybe this is something that's already happened. It's from a past life, or maybe I'll see it again in the future. But we'll get to the video. I don't want to say too much. And then this image again, probably one of my favorites, just because, again, seeing a sketch is like a manifestation of a much larger piece or body of work. And with this scale shift, seeing a sketch in a landscape is, you know, just seeing your art on a different scale is always great to see, oh, what are my possibilities here? And I think that's one of the messages that the God gave to me is like, you as an artist, you have the freedom, the autonomy to wake up every day and decide what is important enough to be made visible. And, you know, seeing this image just is a reminder, like, I could do this.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorites right here, again, with the sail ship, seeing how small I am in comparison to the Ga. When I took the Ga out into the garden, I remember Auntie Fran saying, oh, she looks so small out here. And I mean, I guess she is, but then when I put her around my neck, she's very heavy, very long. And then seeing her out in the ocean in this image, and then myself very small, again, just being able to be closer to the God and seeing time and space like constantly expanding and then compressing. It's just one of the reasons why I make art, because I have the ability to do stuff like that. Shapeshifter. Which segues to this past weekend, another art journey. I traveled to visit Desert X, some installations out in Palm Springs. And this sign I came across, do not touch the artwork, which is both funny to me and in a way it's out of respect, but funny because I'm so used to white glove service. I think I've mentioned that to you before, where you can't touch the art. It's, you know, on a pedestal or behind glass. And my journey with the gauze, Auntie Fran said, no, you have to touch her. She has to feel your salt, your oils. And to me, I don't see any other way to honor my ancestor. Because, you know, she had a purpose before this. Why would it change now? But moving forward, the artists that were featured at Desert X, a lot of them were also Indigenous artists. And so I had the intentions of photographing my sketches with the Ga, my conversations with the Ga, with the art. But after learning about some of these artists and finding out their processes and their journeys, I figured, you know what, I need to respect their intentions. You know, don't climb or step on the artwork, don't touch the artwork. And everyone honors their ancestors differently. And so I remained open to that. This one was definitely one of my favorites. So this is by Serge Atukwe Clottley. Sorry, I probably butchered that, but artist from Ghana. And these are sheets of plastic that were woven together, and the plastic were used, they're from water jugs. He would have to travel far and wide for water. Water is the source of life. And that brings me back to the Ga, the ocean, the water being the source and not just a resource. And the bottom half of this image, I had created that sketch outside where the Ga's colors were vibrant and true. And I wanted to show her these colors to let her know that she exists elsewhere, you know, within other people's works as well. And the great thing about this artist is that he involved his community in Ghana. It showed, there were videos of people hand carving these together, stepping on them. And so I love how art can be accessible to the community in that way, that they're able to give back and be part of something large. And also people who aren't aware of art at this scale, you know, it just makes you think a little differently.
And they really speak to each other.
Oh yeah.
With their color
Yeah.
language.
And this one, Zahar Al-Gandhi. This artist, female artist, yes, she layered cement and sediments found in Coachella Valley. So this is very site specific. And I really like this because it just reminds me that we are part of the land. I am part of the ocean. Like I said before, the ocean is in my tears. And so I carry the ocean with me everywhere I go, and I'm a crier. So, but again, seeing the multiplicity of layers, same with that last piece that I just showed, is also reflected in the Ga. I just love that about the Ga. And then that brings me to my last slide, respect the desert, follow the path, which is another message that the Ga has given me. Respect the desert, respect the ocean, respect the land that you're from, and follow the path, whatever that may be. And it's just begun. And so I also have a video, which we'll play next, but this video kind of visually talks about how time and space is layered and condensed in my work. Screen share. All right, and that's the end of that.
That was, just watching it again, I don't know if you mentioned this before, but just all the intention that you put into, I think in one of the conversations that we had, you went to kind of baptize yourself in the ocean, but you had wanted to bring back salt water from the ocean, but then what happened there?
Yeah. So Auntie Fran mentioned that most artists brought their ancestor an offering. And so I felt inclined to bring the ocean to the god, whether it was sand or water. And I wanted water because we talked about color and how they're much more vibrant underwater. But, after talking to Auntie Fran and talking to you and then talking to the god, it didn't seem right because the water out here is not so clean. And I want to be intentional with what I bring to the God because she's been very direct with me. And I just didn't want it to be impure. It just didn't seem like I'd be respecting her in the way that she deserves. And so she told me to go out to the water. And that was, I think, her offering to me and from me.
Yeah.
And I thank her for that because I belong out there.
We thank her too for bringing you back there.
Yeah.
And I also just, this has been a really, really wonderful presentation, Sam. I'm so happy that you're here to share this story, share the Goss story, the Goss voice, your experience. Is there anything that, or what would the Gaw want our audience to know?
The God definitely told me that to understand material is to know its history. And as an artist, it's very important to understand what you're working with, especially if you are trying to create something very specific. And for me, understanding what the Gaw is made up of, her shells, whose hands, multiple hands who collected these shells, understanding where that came from, even if I don't have the correct information right now, my goal is to research that and find that out for myself. And also what I mentioned earlier, the Gaw reminded me that as an artist, I'm free to send out whatever message I want. And for now, the Gaw's message is just that. And I think I in the video, I was writing something down and I kept repeating, sing with her, sing with her, sing with her. Because the Gaw needs song and music. And so I did have a song that I was going to sing briefly, just the first verse. It's called Love at Home. There is beauty all around when there's love at home. There is joy in every sound when there's love at home. Peace and plenty here above, smiling sweet on every side. Time doth softly, sweetly glide when there's love at home. That song is very special to me because that's one that my whole family knows. We don't need books where we have it all memorized. And the Gaw reminded me that family is forever and love is at home. And that's how I feel when I'm in her presence and here at the museum.
I feel it too. Thank you, Sam, for bringing us home. And And I just have a really good feeling that that extension of home reached our audience today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in. This is the second to last transmission for the year for now. And next month, join us at the end of the month. I will be the featured artist for next month. And don't be surprised if you see our other artists joining us back as well. So thanks, everybody. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Take care out there. And see you next time.